Good morning, this is the presentation from Birmingham City University. Birmingham City University is a UK university based in Birmingham. Birmingham is the second biggest city in the UK with a population of about 2 million people. The university is probably the second largest in terms of student numbers in the city and has campuses scattered around the urban area. However, it is beginning to focus its activity more into the city centre. And behind me is a poster of the campus, which will be our home, at least Birmingham City Business School's home, in September 2015. And everybody here is looking forward to moving into it. It's a purpose-built building, which has cost a number of £1 million to build. The title of this presentation is Accelerate Your Career with a one-year degree from BCU. My name is Professor Mike Jackson. I'm from Birmingham City Business School, and I'm going to go through this material with you, and hopefully at the end I will be available to answer questions live on Skype. We never quite know whether Skype is going to work or not, so that's a bit hit or miss, but I'm looking forward to hearing your questions after the presentation has finished. Let me first start by giving you an outline of the talk that I propose to go through. First thing that I want to cover with you is what is higher education? What do we mean when we say the words higher education? What are people expected to get out of undertaking higher education? Then I want to move on from there to talk about the way in which higher education can change you. All education should be about changing people. If you've been through a course or a program of study and you haven't changed, you have to ask the question, was it worthwhile? Was it useful at all? Higher education should make you into a different person. And in what way should that happen, and what should you expect? Thirdly, well, I guess I'm from the UK, and the courses we have to offer you via Kaplan are UK courses. So I need to talk a little bit about the UK higher education situation. So I'll go through with you the expectations of that the UK has for higher education, and in particular for honours degrees, so that you can see why the teaching is as it is and why certain topics are covered in certain ways. Also, so you can be assured that the type of transformation I'm talking about in terms of you as a person are the ones which are envisaged by the UK higher education system. Finally, I'll talk a little bit about what degrees you're able to do studying with Kaplan Singapore, but studying on courses which are planned, designed and offered by Birmingham City University. So this will help you to understand how we try and realise UK higher education in the context of Singapore. So, when I decided to talk about higher education, I thought, well, what's the opposite of higher education? Is there such a thing as lower education? You would think that if we say higher, we could also say lower. But it wouldn't appear that there is a phrase lower education. So rather than talk about lower education and nobody knowing what I'm meant to talk about, what I'm going to talk about instead is early education. Because it's normal for higher education to take place rather later in your life. You don't expect to go into higher education from the age of 5. It's more of an experience which you have in your late teens and early 20s. And of course some people come into higher education as mature students, having worked for a considerable time. So the opposite then of higher education, I'm saying, is early education. It's the education you have early in your life when you go to school. What are the characteristics of that type of education? What do you expect to receive when you're undertaking what I'm calling early education? Well, The first thing that you might be expecting to do is to be taught that you must listen. The teacher will say various things. They might read from books. They may play you videos. They might play you recordings. In each case, you will be expected to listen to what is said. And that will be a key thing to learn. As a child, it's often hard to listen to someone. So part of the early education is to train you to the point where you find it easier to listen to what is said. So you'll get an education which is delivered to you as an oral education, and you'll be expected to listen to it. What's your response? Well, you will be expected then to remember what was said. And this is really important in early education, because what you're getting is an introduction to the basics of life. Things that you need to know. Things that are vital for the rest of your days upon this earth. So remembering them is important. There are very many things in this world that you can't get by on if you have to look them up in a textbook each time you're asked about them. Similarly, you can't go and consult the internet on everything that there is in the world. You need to be able to remember certain facts. And early education helps you to remember those facts. Then, as of course with any form of education, there needs to be some form of assessment. So there needs to be some way in which the teacher can be assured of the fact that you have listened well and that you have remembered what you have been taught. So typically what a teacher in that type of education will do is ask you to repeat what you have heard. And the more able you are to repeat what you have heard, the higher marks you get. So you progress in this form of education when you have listened well, when you have remembered well, and when you are able to repeat exactly what you have heard. And that form of education, as I've said, is very valuable in your early lives. Now, higher education is different. Higher education is not teaching you the things that you need essentially for life, but rather teaching you things that you need for your chosen pathway through life, the way you have decided to navigate through your later years. And therefore, higher education has different requirements and different ways of assessing. So whilst listening is something that is important often in a higher education environment, and also remembering is important, it's not actually what you will be tested on in order to obtain your degree. Instead, you'll be tested on other characteristics, the first one of which is your ability to evaluate. This means that it's not good enough simply to remember what you've been told, but rather to both remember it and also to be able to evaluate it in terms of set criteria. Now, some people will find this difficult to understand. If a teacher is telling you things, surely you don't need to evaluate it. But of course, a teacher can only tell you generalistic pieces of theories, things which have general application. If you are to go on forward and apply them to specific cases, you need to be able to evaluate their applicability in given situations. So you need to be able to assess the essentials of what you're being taught and see how important they would be in contexts which are different from the standard teaching context. From evaluation, you would also need to go on to be able to criticize. Again, we might find it difficult to see how we should be criticizing our teachers. Well, of course, it's not the teachers we're criticizing, it's the material they will be delivering. It simply just isn't possible for a teacher to tell you everything you need to know about life. You have to apply some personal knowledge, some personal interpretation. And that effectively is what criticism is. It's understanding the limitations of what you are being told and seeing how those limitations can be overcome in the situation that you find yourself. Once you can evaluate And once you can criticize bits of knowledge that you receive from your teacher, then you can go on to do the most important skill, which is synthesize. And this really is what we are looking for as the outcome of higher education, certainly in the UK system and in many other systems around the world. The ability to make new knowledge. Have you ever wondered where that knowledge comes from that your teacher is delivering to you? Have you ever wondered who wrote the textbooks and how that material got itself into the textbooks? Somebody had to create the knowledge in the first place. Someone had to develop that new way of thinking. The aim of higher education is to make you a person that is capable of developing that new knowledge, of taking existing knowledge and applying it in a new context, of thinking of new ways of solving novel problems. And this is what we're looking to develop in higher education. So synthesis is the highest set of skills that we're hoping that you will acquire if you enter into a higher education qualification. Let me summarize really what I've just said about higher education. I've said that there are three key things that we expect someone to acquire once they've carried out a course in higher education. We expect that they will develop the ability to evaluate. So not just listen, not just remember, not just repeat, but actually listen and then make judgments about what you are hearing, to say whether that material is relevant to you, whether it can be used in the circumstances in which you find yourself, or whether you will need to develop material further so that it becomes usable in the situation that you're located. From evaluation, you're expected to move on to be able to criticize things, to be able to understand the limitations of what you've been told. As I've said, it simply isn't possible to tell you things that would be ways of acting, ways of behaving, ways of practicing in every situation that you may find in the world. You have to be able to adapt what you have for the situation that you find yourself in. You have to understand that what you already know will not extend to where you are going or the moment you find yourself in, and that you need to develop it further. That further development is effectively the skill of synthesis, where through what you have learned, through your evaluation of what you've learned, through your criticism of what you've learned, you'll be able to create new ideas of your own that other people can benefit from. And those ideas will match your needs and match your current situation, match the context that you find yourself in, so that you will have moved on from what your teacher has told you to an ability to do things that had not been thought of at the time you had that education. Of course, you won't be able to do that straight off. You will need to be able to have a deep understanding of the subject in order to get to that stage of developing new ideas. So higher education also, alongside of skills of evaluation, criticism and synthesis, does deliver deep subject knowledge. But it delivers that knowledge not so that you are able to repeat it in the way you would have done at school, but rather to allow you to move that knowledge on into new fields and new problems. I'd like now to cover the expectations that there are of UK honours degrees. In the UK, an honours degree is usually a 3-year course. If you successfully complete the first year, you're awarded a certificate of higher education. If you successfully complete the second year, you're awarded a diploma of higher education. In the final year, if you successfully complete the course, you're awarded an honours degree. An honours degree comes in a number of classifications. There is first class honours, second class honours upper division, second class honours lower division, and third class honours. Generally speaking, what you want is the higher of those, so first class is the best you can get, third class is really just the pass level at honours degree. Students who gain honours degrees are those students who you would expect to go on to professional careers. An honours degree is often seen as being the gateway into professional jobs. Those students who do reach the final year of a degree but don't actually pass every module are sometimes awarded a pass degree. Pass degree doesn't have any classifications and it's not known as an honours degree. So if you see the brackets and HONS close bracket after a degree title, you know it's an honours degree and is the sort of degree that you would expect a professional to be able to obtain. The UK system regulates its honours degrees through inspection by an agency known as the Quality Assurance Agency, which sets the standards for UK degrees and then visits universities to see that they are meeting the standards. What I'd like to go through with you this morning is the standard they set for a UK honours degree at level 6 and year 3. This means it's the final year of a degree of somebody expecting to go from that degree to a professional job, and the standards are set out as followed on the next few slides. So first of all, what an honours degree student would gain from doing their course is knowledge of their field of study. Not just knowledge, but a systematic understanding. They haven't learned bare facts, they understand those facts, and they have facts which cover the full range of the area of their field of study. The knowledge they'll get will be detailed and it will be coherent. And importantly, some of the knowledge included in the course will be at the forefront of the discipline they've chosen. So if you do a business honours degree at a UK university, you would expect to learn things which are right at the forefront of current practice in companies or current practice in research. It shouldn't be material which is 10 or 20 years old. It should be material which is completely up to date and very, very modern. In addition, graduates should show an ability to be able to use the techniques that they have been taught. They shouldn't just be people who can tell you what they've been taught and repeat what the teacher has said. They should be people who are able to use what has been said to them and deploy it both in the real world and in the study of academic topics. So they should be capable of finding out more about their subject without having to be told it. Students who are doing an honours degree will also be presented with a number of concepts which have sense within the specialised study they're undertaking. And having gained those concepts and understood those concepts, those students should be enabled to do the following things. They need to be able to make arguments for one particular view or another. They need to be able to not just repeat information, but to solve problems. And they need to be able to solve problems which aren't necessarily simple ones, but are up-to-date, new, and ones which are fresh within the discipline they've studied. So they become extremely useful individuals because they're able to take problems that have just recently cropped up and apply the knowledge they have to those problems to find solutions. They'll also be in a position where they can comment on current research. They won't be necessarily people who will be undertaking research, but they will know enough to be able to say, well, I can agree with that, or I disagree with that, or I think that is a piece of research which is perhaps not as useful as it might be. So they will be able to hear about other people who have carried out work of a research nature and be able to make sensible comments about whether that could be useful in their particular situation. Another thing that honours degree graduates will have is the realisation that they don't know everything. That in any topic there are things that we don't know, and that we have to deal with the fact that we don't know those things. They will also have to be able to cope with being unsure about things, that things not being black and white or cut and dried. And they will need to know what it is we don't know about the world. They'll need to understand those things which have not yet been completely researched and understood. So not only will they have to be able to tell you what they've learned, but they'll have to know what they haven't learned and what needs further investigation. In particular, UK honours degree students will need to be able to manage learning. The expectation is that people will not simply take an honours degree and stop there, but they will learn during the course of their honours degree how to learn about the world, how to apply theories to the world, how to find out about new knowledge. So typically, UK honours degrees will teach students about accessing library material, reading learned journals, understanding what textbooks are saying, so that when they finish their degree they're able to come across a problem which they haven't encountered before, go to a library, use the internet, find the information they need to solve that new and novel problem that they've just encountered that wasn't covered as part of their degree course. So these are the expectations that the UK has about every honours degree, and every honours degree is expected to include those things within it. So what honours degrees do, usually they get implemented as a set of modules, and they expect that every module will encapsulate those things that honours degrees are supposed to do. So every module that you would take as part of a UK honours degree would encourage creative thinking. It would test a variety of skills. Simply, it would test more than just learning and repeating. It would see whether students are able to research and find out things, whether, if necessary, they're able to make presentations, whether they have the verbal skills necessary for a career in their chosen subject. So a lesson on a UK degree might be more of a discussion rather than the teacher simply talking to the class and passing on knowledge. In particular, modules on UK degrees will look to see whether students have gained the ability to put into practice what they've learned in the classroom. There's no point really doing a degree if it doesn't affect what you do in your everyday life. So tests within UK degrees do test whether you're able to take the material you've been studying out into the real world and make it work for you. And that would certainly be a part of a standard assessment. Because of these variety of skills that are required, because we are looking for the ability to put things into practice, we would normally expect that the module in a UK degree would use a variety of assessment techniques. Particularly if you're taking a range of modules, you would expect in some there to be essays, in some they could be examinations, whereas in others there would be practical assessments where you are expected to do something, maybe in your job or in an environment in which you're familiar, and then report on the success you had in applying those techniques. So let me now talk a little bit about the honours degrees and other qualifications which are on offer from Birmingham City University at Kaplan, Singapore. There are two types of offering that are made. First of all, we offer some top-up degrees, which are undergraduate courses. That's roughly what I've been talking about so far, the honours degree level. Those degrees are as follows. First of all, we have BA, and you can see the honours in the title there, Business Administration, which is an honours degree in the way that you would operate within a business in order to get things done and in order to achieve the aims of the business. Second title is BA Hon's International Business, which has a more international flavour. That concentrates on the things that you might have to do in order to operate outside your own borders in a world which is increasingly globalised. So how you would cooperate with other companies, how you would cope with international trade laws, etc. The third degree is BA International Finance. The clue is in the name. It's about financial aspects of a business and financial dealings. Students who attempt this really do need to have some form of background in accounting, because some of the modules on that particular route do assume that you come across methods of accounting in your life prior to attempting the degree. The final course and the top-up degrees is BA International Marketing. Again, clues in the title. It's a course which largely deals with marketing. We do find, however, that some students confuse sales with marketing. Marketing is really about deciding what should be sold and how it should be sold, which is a little bit more than the sales experience gives you. So in that context, we're looking for students who have an experience of thinking about brands, thinking about marketing mixes, and have had some experience of undertaking marketing research in the past. We have one postgraduate degree we offer at Kaplan in Singapore, and that's the master's degree, Master of Science in Accounting and Finance. Again, the title gives it away. It is a degree largely about accounting with some financial modules added in. If you are thinking of attempting that, clearly you need to be educated to degree level, and in particular you may need to have some experience of professional examinations in the accountancy area. Only students really who've done a degree in accountancy or who have professional body qualifications in accountancy should think about moving to that master's degree. So I'm going to talk about the top-up degrees in the main then. First thing I want to say about them is that you shouldn't think about coming to those degrees absolutely cold without any experience in business. The top-up degree effectively is a year long, but it gets you to a point where you would have gained the qualification that someone in the UK would get after 3 years of study. So you need to make up for those missing 2 years of study, and you can do it in a number of ways. You can do it through qualifications. For example, a higher diploma in Singapore, or an advanced diploma, would be sufficient for entry into the top-up degrees. But you may get onto the top degrees with perhaps a diploma in another topic, but significant experience in business as evidenced by your CV. Similarly, somebody with a diploma in business who had a number of years experience operating in the business environment might be given entry to the top-up degree. Remember, it's doing in 1 year what you would expect in the UK to do in 3 years, so you must be able to show something equivalent to that 2 years of experience that you would have had in the UK. That said, the content of the top-up degrees, each top-up degree has what we call 120 credits worth of content, and that is the content which is equivalent to the final year of a UK's honours degree. So it is as though you were doing the final year of a degree in the UK, in Birmingham perhaps. And the content in our top-ups is exactly the same content that we would deliver to our final year students in Birmingham, and is assessed in the same way that we would assess our final year students in Birmingham. So you are operating at the correct level, the same level that UK honours degree students operate at. All of the courses are designed by a business school which actually has a very practical focus. We pride ourselves on our ability to make people into practical people. We don't just deliver theory, we deliver applied theory, and we expect people to show how theory will be applied. We make sure that the material that we have in our courses is up to date and relevant by operating with a set of industrial partners who are business people who can tell us what other business people and themselves want to see in our graduates, and we put that material into our courses. So we have a long track record of producing good courses which are very industrially relevant, and these courses live up to that track record. The courses are 1 year in length. For a full-time UK student, they would take 1 year to complete, and you're able to complete them in what is largely part-time mode at Kaplan Singapore, sorry. And the award you get is a UK Honours degree. You get a full UK Honours degree, which will be Bachelor of Honours in the title of the course, and you will get a classification to say how well you did in that particular degree. Now, we do deliver them in Singapore differently from the way they're delivered in the UK. We have to make them suitable for students who possibly do have a job elsewhere and need to work in the days and perhaps study at nights. So we have a block delivery mode which is offered by Kaplan Singapore. So rather than the way it's delivered in this country, in the UK, where a student would maybe study 4 modules at once, in Singapore, modules are delivered one at a time in blocks. So within a block, you would have one module after another. Usually a block will contain 3 modules. So you would do one module, the second module, the third module, and at the end of the block, you would be assessed in all 3 modules. The good thing about this approach is it allows students to immerse themselves in one topic at a time. Our students here have to think about 4 things at once. You will only have to concentrate on one thing at a time, and then of course any job that you might have to support your life elsewhere. As I've said before, in the UK education system we use a variety of assessment mechanisms, and you would expect to see that in the different modules that we have. So one module might have an exam, another module might expect an essay to be written, another module might be assessed by presentation. The good news about the block mode delivery is that the blocks do have breaks within them. So there are breaks between blocks where you get a chance to rest. And that will mean that you're able to spend at least some time with your family, particularly over the holidays where they would be celebrating. You too will be able to join with them because there will be a gap between the blocks that you are required to study. So all in all, that's probably good news for you. Finally, I'd like to talk to you about the challenge of attempting one of these courses. First thing I want to say is that you will have your horizons expanded. You may think you know about the topic of business. You may think you know lots about being a business person. But if the course doesn't make you encounter new things, then it's failed. You will encounter new material on it. You will be surprised. You will have to pick up new material. It won't be possible to pass it on the material you already know. You will be required to become creative. All of our modules expect that. They want you not to be able to just repeat things, not to just be able to remember things, but to create new knowledge. And you will be asked to do that. So you have to be prepared for that as part of the course. And as I've said earlier, you will be required to demonstrate the ability to synthesize, to take the knowledge you have and develop new knowledge, to innovate, to develop new ways of doing things, to think out of the box, as we sometimes say. So that will be required of you, and the problems that you'll be set will not be problems that you've encountered before, but will be fresh problems that require new solutions. And finally, that you'll also be expected to show that you get some benefit out of the degree which changes the way you work. It should change you. It should make you different. You should be able to say, right, in future I will do it this way. I've always done it that way in the past, but now I know it's better to go and do it this way. I'll solve these new problems that I'm able to identify now and use the knowledge that I have to make my business life different. So you will be asked to demonstrate that that will happen. So I guess that's all I've got to say now about the about UK system, about honours degrees, and about the expectations that would be given to you if you were to take part in a BCU degree offered by Kaplan. It may be that you've got some questions about what I've said. Hopefully, if Skype is willing and the technology works, we should now be able to move into a live session where you can put questions to me and I will be able to give you the answers. Thanks for listening. Hopefully we will be able to go on to the next part of the presentation.